Welcome to URI Standard Working Group Meeting 6. I have shared agenda in chat. We don't have tons of item on agenda today. It's a short one. And yeah, in the past meeting, we did discuss about a couple of proposals, EIP 2400 and 4804. There were not much discussion on idea for compact URL. So I have added that as the first item for this meeting today. I have seen there are some new comments added to the agenda with respect to this proposal and also to the FEM, of course. So yeah, Trey, if you would like to maybe start from adding points for this particular agenda item.
Sure. I only posted last night. I should have posted sooner. If anyone wanted to comment on it, I'm linking it in the chat now. But I mostly spec'd out what a Bolt 11 like payment request for Ethereum would look like. With several of the TLV tag types that trying to sort of one-to-one match what 681 supports in terms of different kinds of messages. Thinking about it, it actually makes sense to only have one like flat blob to encode all of the call data that would get passed instead of having separate arguments. And then you could take that back apart again with a signature either included in the message or if you know it elsewhere somehow. And so that actually can save some space because it's just more compact. I also did some more of a write-up on what the specific like transfer request format would look like. I know there is some objection to that, but I thought it'd be interesting to spec it out in case that could convince anyone. And I thought it was interesting because if you use the more optimized versions of and more optimistic versions of how to communicate some of this information, like assuming we have some kind of global token contract registry that is generally agreed upon, and we can refer to that instead of actually including the full addresses using like token lists or something. Assuming you can do that and people have ENS addresses, then you actually would end up with similar to in 681 really, really short payment requests, since you don't even need to include something like the signatures or the function names themselves. So like you don't need to say to call the transfer function. So I don't know. I thought it was neat to spec that out. Aside from that, I don't really have too much else to say. Aside from leave some comments, please.
Yeah, anyone have any thought, comments on this comment?
I wasn't sure sort of what format to write this in. I didn't try to write it as it would be an EAP because I think that's premature, but yeah, I'm mainly just trying to get at people's opinions on it.
I wonder, yeah, I was about to call on you, Sam, maybe as an EIP editor or maybe as a facilitator for URL. You are in meeting there. I mean,
yeah, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
All right, that is good. Maybe we can move on to the next item, which is about the update since the last meeting. The first sub item, that is issue 67, I believe that is merged and that do not need any discussion any longer. Yeah, because the proposal is already added as withdrawn. So I think the author should be good enough to use that in EIP 831. So
Yep, should be good to go.
Thank you. So we can maybe skip that. And the next one is EIP 2400. That is already in review. And we are joined by Ricardo. Ricardo, if you would like to share any updates on that, where we are, and if there is any roadblocker that the group can help you with.
No, I think that I will see what will happen with the other EIPs that are dependencies. that I actually removed the dependency, but I plan to include it back. So once that's all set up, I think we can move to the next stage for that EIP. Maybe I don't know. The other EIPs are already good to be used.
I think.
So, yeah, please go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think one thing that we should probably coordinate is how we're going to be writing method signatures, because I know Key's EIP has a different method for encoding like signatures, so maybe we could come up with something that's similar between the two formats.
What you mean by the function signatures that are on the EIP 2400?
Yeah, exactly. So they're because you have it like as a quoted part of the query string, and I think we have a slightly different way of doing it in 4804. Yeah.
Okay, I will take a look on 4804. Sorry, can you type the number? I just 4804.
Yep, I posted it in the chat.
Okay, I will take a look in.
Yeah, and I know they have different purposes. Like, you know, one is to decode a transaction, and one has like a way of like guessing at what the function signature is. But it'd be nice to have some kind of like uniform way of encoding this information.
Sure.
One question for Ricardo. I'm sorry if I did not get it correct or I missed part of it. Did you mention that you were trying to get rid of dependencies like the required EIPs and it was added by someone?
So I tried to remove the dependency because it was not, it was a stagnant dependency. And it was not really like needed. It was more like a formal thing, just to include it as a dependency. So as it's getting finalized as well, so I can use it in this EIP as well. So I prefer to use it to keep the dependency. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like the more links, the better.
Yeah, right. So as of now, if I look into the proposal, only 155 and 681 are added as, probably would add the other one later on, but both these proposals are in final status, so it should be good to go. Okay. So that's on EIP 2400. Moving on to EIP 4804. Sam already mentioned that there is a need of coordination for method signature there. Anything else you would like to add, Key?
Yeah, I also have a discussion with Sam. So actually one interesting discussion is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you seem fine. I think Ricardo is unmuted.
Oh yeah, okay, good. So yeah, so one question is regarding the so if it's going to depend on EIP 831, that is the UI format for Ethereum. One thing that actually have some question is like right now it's more defined general format defined for URI, but EIP 4804 is for URL, which will have the basic schema, comma, and then double slash and something. So I'm Sam suggesting that we can basically set some prefix as the double slash with, for example, Web3. But I'm wondering whether there is any restriction of prefix, or whether we should put this kind of like the URL format explicitly in a specification. For example, that before the prefix part, we may have the double slash part as optional if it is designed for URL. So this is just one question for dependency.
So one question I have is 4804 a URL or a URI? And I'm not too familiar with the distinction between the two, but yeah, I'm just wondering about that.
It is a URL, but actually URL is also a subclass of URI. So it's also a URI, but it's more specifically a specific URL similar to HTTP.
Right. So I guess the difference would be a URN versus a URL. So is my understanding is a URL describes where to get a document as opposed to a URN, which doesn't describe where to get it and is just a name. So our 4804 URLs, or sorry, our 4804 URIs, are they URNs or are they URLs? And I think technically they're a URN because they don't give you like a server address to go to. They actually just give it a name, and you have to look it up on Ethereum. But I'm not sure of the technicalities. But anyways, I don't think it's a problem to have slashes in the prefix. That like it looks like you just can't start it with 0x. So yeah.
I believe URNs don't have a scheme prefix, but I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure the difference between URN and URL and URI, but I'm pretty sure like basically it is kind of like a similar way as HTTP, including the format, including how the basic query and authority. That's what I read from the document, saying that if it's in this kind of format, then it's treated like a URL. But definitely, I can find the specific document where the URL is defined in the URI document. I think there's one document that formally define what's URL, and then I can put it there, and then to see, hey, whether in this URI format, if there's a convenient way, is also be able to support URL, and also precisely mention that 4804 is kind of like URL instead of like maybe other, or maybe perhaps also a URM. So probably we need to do some effort to dig in and find out the difference there.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I guess so one option is getting rid of the slashes, putting the slashes as part of the prefix, or changing 831 to optionally have slashes. And I guess those are the three kind of paths we can take.
Yeah, but I think even like with current format, we can still using the slashes because this is definitely a subcase. But just want to make it more clear that it can explicitly support this kind of like schema, comma, slash, and prefix or something else, something like that. Oh yeah, URN is a schema of URN. Okay, so yeah.
So it's definitely not a URN.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking at.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so I think that's just a small technicality, but otherwise I think it's going well. Good.
Yeah, I think this is one. And so I'm going to basically clarify it. And I think the rest is basically minor because, like, for example, we are going to basically to first how to make 4804 to be compatible with existing content hash, which is used also by IPFS. This is one thing that we are also explore, but actually it doesn't change the current content of 4804 because, as we discussed previously, we are going to put it in a separate EIP for supporting different services. So right now the current format is still after some changes there. Yeah, and then we are also going to change the return types to returns. So that will maybe perhaps that we are going to support both, but we are recommending using returns because I know several services they are already supporting return types, and they're asking me whether we can maintain the backward compatibility. So perhaps I may put both return types and returns, but recommending using returns. Does that sound good?
I don't necessarily see a problem with supporting both. I think it would be better to define returns as like the canonical one and maybe have a note for backwards compatibility, because you want to write your standard as like how you want it to be seen and how you want it to be used, and less as a document describing what's already there. Because like, whatever you want to do is fine, I think.
Yeah. In general, there are a couple of basically community members approach me saying that they would like to apply the standard, and so they say whether it's kind of like immutable format or it's backward compatible, and I think this is something that we are going to do. So yeah, I think Sam, you're right. Yeah, so basically it's better than we can just we will put fixing returns as canonical and say return types is optional but not recommended. Yeah.
Great, cool.
That's pretty much all the updates. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much on that update. I think that was the last item listed here on the agenda for today's discussion. But there is one more question in my mind, which I would like to share with all the participants here. Do we think that we need a bi-weekly meeting for this out of the wallet dev meeting that is there for like where we have all industry wallet developers in one meeting led by Sam Wilson? I propose this because I believe that the participation there is wider than this meeting, and also it will be good to share the updates plus question, comment, concern in a group where we have more people giving more feedbacks. Yeah, anyone has any thought?
I think if we want to get any feedback from wallet devs, we should probably merge the meetings. I put a link in the chat for a Discord server that we host the meetings on. If any of you want to join, feel free.
Yeah, and I see that the next meeting is planned on August 17, which is about a week from now. I think it will be a good start for people to show up in that meeting and see how does it go. They are already discussing about wallet, and including discussion for URI would be a good addition.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a great place to discuss. Yeah, and in addition to that, like we can probably move the discussion that is related to wallet discussion, like core discussion, to that wallet dev meeting. However, if there is any question, comment, concern related to the process of EIP, like there were a few proposals in stagnant status, like 831 and 2400, which we try to bring it to the live status and start moving it, pushing towards funnel. If there are any questions around that, if authors need help with that, Sam Wilson is also planning to lead this another meeting that we have on Tuesdays. The next one is planned for tomorrow. That is basically called EIP internship meeting. We try to share that meeting recording for people who are interested with helping out with EIP editing process. However, we take questions from any author of any category. It's not only for core, it can be ERC, interface, meta, or anyone. If they have any question related to the process they would like to understand and they would like the proposal to be reviewed with reviewers and editors fastest, they can always join the meeting. EIP IP, right?
No, it's not EIP IP. EIP IP is where we are discussing questions on EIP process, but if someone has individual EIP for which they are looking help with, is EIP Editors Apprenticeship Meeting. Definitely, I'm going to post the link in the same channel, EIP Editors channel or Ethereum Catter Discord for discussion. And we can probably divide this into two sections: core discussion that is related to wallet and where it includes audiences like wallet developers or infrastructure provided, move to wallet dev meeting, and related to the process part, we will move it to the internship meeting.
Nice.
So I think other than the general EIPs that we are discussing here, I guess one proposal of tray, which is not a good fit for either of the category. I believe we can probably start discussing it in the wallet tab, and when this comes into a live proposal, it moves into EIP draft form, and then we can take it in EIP apprenticeship meeting. Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
I'm fine with it.
All right. Yeah, Sam. So I'm assuming that the next meeting is on August 17. Is there anything that needs to be done to be adding these items on agenda, or because we have discussed it in this way, maybe probably we can just provide a brief update and move on?
If there should be an agenda thread in the Discord. If not, I'll make one and add you guys. So.
Okay, that sounds good. Cool. This looks like a quick meeting for today. Anyone wants to add anything else? I'm going to update the notes in the same HackMD document and share it in the Discord channel. Probably that would be the last for this sort of meeting. However, we are open if we need any kind of any discussion. Yeah, definitely reach out and we'll try to have meetings. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm going to share the recording very soon on Ethereum Catheters YouTube. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
See you later.